The One Piece community spends a bunch of time arguing amongst each other. There are tons of stand wars every single day, and sometimes while I'm watching these stand wars, I read some of the talking points and I'm like, how are both sides wrong? It makes sense that things over time get misconstrued, especially with so many nuances between the English and Japanese language. But some of this stuff has just been pure agenda. And today we are going to talk about the biggest myths that I see peddled in these One Piece agendas. And we're going to debunk them because we got to get these lies off the streets. Why not? So let's go ahead and cook. I'm excited. Let's start with one of the biggest and one of the most frustrating to me personally. Now, if I asked you what the biggest stand war amongst One Piece fans was, you would probably say either Zoro versus Sanji or Mihawk versus Shanks. We're going to talk about Mihawk versus Shanks, and what I always see from Shanks fans, right? I know I do a lot of Mihawk stuff. People think I hate Mihawk. I don't hate Mihawk. But let's talk about Shanks right now and his fan base. The biggest point, or at least the worst point, that I see Shanks fans try to peddle is this idea that he's not a swordsman. And he like the hockey wand stuff, and it's created a lot of straw man arguments from your opposition because you're using such a silly argument. Stop saying that Shanks is not a swordsman. We've seen Shanks on screen in combat every single time he's had a sword in his hand. Even when he did his best argument for, like, let's say that there's something outside of swordsmanship, which is, you know, the hockey man stuff, right? Where he did the green bull. He had to grip his sword. He didn't have to, but he gripped his sword when doing that. Now, is swordsmanship the sum of Shanks' strength as a whole? That's what I don't believe. I think that if you want to argue that Shanks is a swordsman, but his hockey seems to be the main focus that's coming from Oda when it comes to his strength, then that's a very fair and a much better argument than just saying he's not a swordsman. He just uses a sword as a conduit or a wand, and he doesn't cut. He just sends out shockwaves. That's silly, bro. Like, learn how to argue. That's why y'all can't win arguments, and that's why these debates are happening every second. People been having the same arguments since I've been joined the One Piece community. I've been watching One Piece for much longer than I've been a part of like the online community. I think I started really engaging in like 2018, and there have been these same arguments over and over. Why? Because nobody knows how to actually argue. And also, I said in my last video, nobody enters arguments for the sake of actually having their mind changed, right? If you think Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, you're gonna think he's stronger than Mihawk. It's not gonna change from some random guy online with a Mihawk Abby that disagrees with you. So if you're gonna do the argument, bro, if you're gonna commit to the bit, commit to it to the best of your strength. Stop saying he's not a swordsman, bro. He is a swordsman. Let's just, come on, bro. That just doesn't make sense to me. And while we on Mihawk and Shanks, I need to do a little quick honorable mention for Mihawk, because this one is always hilarious to me. And it's this idea that Mihawk's bounty is just based purely on strength and strength alone, no other factors, right? And it comes from a few different places. I think a lot of people, believe that Mihawk already had that 3 billion berry bounty before he joined Cross Guild, which is not true. Or B, that even though he's a part of Cross Guild, they don't consider that in his bounty, which is probably the worst sentiment of the two. But in the chapter, right, we literally get Brand New and the other Marines talking about it's like, what new bounties are we giving Cross Guild, right? And then when they're talking about these individual characters, they say Crocodile, his cunning in Guild or whatever, he's worth a 1.9 for Croc, and Mihawk gets his 3.5-ish, whatever. Anyway, that's beside the point. There are members of Cross Guild. Cross Guild is actively putting bounties on Marines. They have very high bounties. Now, is that the only factor? No, obviously it's not. But let's stop saying, oh, Mihawk's bounty is just straight up strength. No, he's a member of a Yonko crew, bro. Like that's so, it's like when you got a grasp for straws with arguments like that, it kind of kills the rest of your stuff. Like, bro, Mihawk having a 3 whatever billion berry bounty is extremely impressive on his own. You don't have to try to warp it and make it more impressive than it actually is. It's crazy already. He's the number 2 in the crew, but has the high, well, he's in the eyes of the world, He's the number 2 on the crew, but he has the highest bounty in the crew. But we don't have to add and embellish certain stuff to make it look better than what it is. It's a crazy feat, bro. Leave it at that. You don't gotta rewrite the story. They got the new bounties after joining Cross Guild. His is based on him being in the Yonko crew. Now his strength is a big factor, obviously, but it's not the only thing. Come on, bro. Kaido is a victim of a bunch of people wanting their favorite characters to be stronger than him because it makes them look amazing. So a lot of people want Kaido to be power clipped, and they try to dissect and disrespect his title as the world's strongest creature because that's kind of like a big point of argument that people have in favor of Kaido. So the biggest way people do that, they go back to the to the panel where it's introduced and he's called the world's strongest people and say, well, he said people said, so it's just a rumor. Now, first and foremost, there are plenty of instances in the story from not only Zoro, Killer, but then you go outside of the story, you look at Viva cards that call him the strongest. You look at even Oda when he was talking about, they venture into the land where the world's strongest creature resides. There's been a lot of times outside of just this one panel where they said people said where Kaido was called the world's strongest creature. So here's the biggest problem when you're trying to disrespect one title. You kind of gotta look at titles consistently. If you're gonna disrespect one, if you're gonna pick apart one, then you have to open the door for more than just that one to be picked apart or disrespected. You can't, it's 3 routes you can take, right? You have the one route where you don't believe any titles, right? You think they're all just hype. You think they don't really mean nothing. It's just a way Oda hypes up characters. I don't agree with this route. You have the second route, which is one I also don't agree with, where you want to use one title as just straight up fact and validity, and another title in the same regard. But then my favorite title, if it applies to my favorite character, then it's facts, which is hypocritical. You can't do that either. Your third route is to understand that titles have context in the story of One Piece. Every single title and every single scenario is gonna come with a whole bunch of context and hype used to hype up. That's really what they are. They're hype tools. They're used as a way to make a statement of why you need to respect this character, who he is, and what he represents. And the problem is, you can't just pick and choose when it works for you, when you want to respect a title or when a title really makes sense to you. I think that, honestly, let's look at Harold. Harold existed in a time where Whitebeard, Kaido, Mihawk, even others were around. Harold uses a sword. Harold is an ancient giant. He's a creature. He is also a man. Harold could have simultaneously held every single one of these titles. And we know that Harold is somebody who was on par with Rox Dizabek at his peak. He's more than likely stronger than every single person I just named, that being Mihawk, Kaido, and Whitebeard. But he never had the title. Does that mean titles don't mean shit? No. That means title exists as a way to hype a character up to a certain level, and it kind of puts a battery behind how strong they are. But does that mean titles have no sense for context or conjecture? No. You just gotta be consistent with how you look at all 3 of them, because Harold can honestly, he uses sword. We know that. Harold can honestly shut down every single argument you have for all 3 of those characters and those titles in which they held. So maybe we just gotta be consistent with how we view, because if you're gonna discredit one, you need to discredit all. Or if you're gonna respect them all to a certain level, then do that. But let's stop trying to, because sometimes y'all be shooting yourself in the foot with some agendas. I don't even see no Mihawk fan talking about, Kaido's title is fake. That's the last thing y'all need to be saying, bro. Serious. Now, of course, I saved the best for last, and that is Admiral fans, who are some of the biggest straw graspers I've ever seen in my life. These dudes would take an inch and turn it into a mile. I promise you, they can take every little small thing and argue with, and it's almost impressive to some extent, but it's also a little desperate, man. Y'all be kind of wilding. So, what's the biggest thing our Admiral fans have been arguing? Mentally nerfed. And this goes for both Aokiji and for Kizaru. I'm gonna start with Aokiji. This idea that Aokiji was getting his ass whooped by Garp because he's mentally nerfed is just straight up foolishness, because that same mentally nerfed argument you can have for for Aokiji applies to Garp. That is a student facing his former master, but is also a master facing his former student. Now, if this fight was close in some regard, I would also feel these arguments, but Aokiji got his ass whooped. Let's go back and go through that fight. Garp was beating dog shit out of Aokiji, like literally. And honestly, it didn't even look like there was gonna be anything close until until Garp got stabbed. I don't see how you can go back and read that fight and say that these two guys are close, or it was an extreme diff or a close. Bro, Aokiji was getting maxed out. Whooped, literally. But let's go to the Kizaru talk, because I guess y'all have a stronger argument here. I still think it's kind of a cop out. It's bullshit, but okay, sure. Let's talk about it. All right, Kizaru was mentally nerfed. Kizaru had mental conflictions that were very relevant to his fight or his performance on Egghead. I'm not gonna say his fight against Luffy. Kizaru landed on Egghead, ran into his best friend, fried him to a crisp. Then he ran into a girl who he knows is 12 years old. Bonnie's age and identity at this time is not a mystery to Kizaru. Kizaru knows how old Bonnie is. And what does he do? He sends her flying through the laser labo field, which very well could have killed her. Okay. He runs into Luffy, the only person on this island that he does not have any actual personal ties to. And now his mental nerfing is why he really just couldn't go all out, and he had a boo-boo. He couldn't fight all out against Luffy. He was sad, bro. I'm not going, bro. Kizaru fed Luffy to help him fight against Saturn. Yes, he did. But that's just more of to me, that's more of an indictment on Kizaru's lack of a backbone to stand up to his superiors who he clearly disagreed with, than him being just this, oh, I was way stronger than bro. To me, this mentally nerfed shit for Kizaru sound like that one dude that keeps saying, I could have went to the league if I ain't blow out my knee. I ain't going, bro. Like, let's stop giving these dudes these cop-outs, bro. Was Kizaru affected by was he conflicted? Sure. Was Luffy going all out? No. Luffy was not trying to defeat Kizaru. He was just trying to escape the island. And he burned himself out, possibly due to a lot of the fighting he did before Kizaru got here, which a lot of people don't bring up very conveniently. So Luffy not fighting at 100%, Kizaru not fighting at 100%. Let's look at the fight. Some people will dead ass tell you with a straight face, Kizaru beat Luffy. There is nothing that showed Kizaru having the upper hand once Luffy went Gear 5. Like, literally nothing. And now with new information coming out, that kind of implies that Luffy didn't use Advanced Conquerors on this island. It looks even worse for Kizaru, but I'm not going to even get into that side. Y'all got to stop rewriting the story. Kizaru did not win against Luffy. Kizaru maybe was mentally nerfed, but that still would not have changed much in the grand scheme, considering one, you can also apply a nerf to Luffy since he was not trying to defeat Kizaru, but only trying to escape the argument. There's only so far this is going to take you, bro. Especially when you consider the fact that he actually did murder his friend the first chance he got. He was willing to murder Kuma and Bonnie the first chance he got. So he wasn't holding back when he ran into these dudes. He was literally standing over Kuma and Bonnie like, I guess we're going to have to bury y'all together. I'm finna kill you, boy. And he straight up killed Vegapunk. But oh no, the one dude on this island who I don't even fuck with like that, I can't do it, bro. I can't go all out. I can't. I'm sad, bro. Stop it, bro. Have some shame. Y'all can't do this, man. This is crazy to me, bro. Like, relax. Like, we can talk about it. We can engage with Kizaru's character and how it was. I mean, I don't think it's a heartbreaking scenario to be in. I think grow a fucking backbone, be a man or not. But he didn't do that. He called himself a cog in the machine, and he was that. But this whole, man, really, he could have won, and he did actually win. Stop it. Stop it. Now y'all, I'm in the bag. See, I had to get in that bag for a little bit. I've been trying to be, you know what I'm saying, what's the word I'm looking for? Subjective throughout the video, because when it comes to a lot of stuff is going to be subjective, but stop it, bro. Y'all ridiculous, man. I'm going to do a part 2 of this video. This was fun. This was very fun. I had to buy a new computer. I had to purchase a lot of stuff. So like the video, so I can justify that. Like the video. I see the Mihawk video kind of is starting to catch some traction. It's on its way to 600 views. I'm really grateful for that. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all a million times. I can't thank y'all enough. And I hope that we can continue that going forward, because, you know, at some point I got to justify all these purchases to my fiance. Now let me stop. But for real though, like and subscribe. I thank y'all if y'all made it this far. I really, really do appreciate it. And peace out.